What's up, athletes? This is Coach Fish. I am bringing you your hinge basics for our functional movement series. We started with the push-up last week. Go ahead and check out that video. It is a very common exercise that people struggle with in functional movement classes such as CrossFit or stuff similar to what I coach. So we're going to start with hinge today because it is a move that you do over 2,000 times per day. Picking stuff off the floor, reaching for a door handle, all that stuff is a hinge-based movement. And what we mean by hinge is hinging at the hips. So we're gonna start from the foundation on the ground, start with our feet, ankles, knees, hips, and then work our way up to where my back and spine should be in alignment for good lifts. And I'm gonna show you a few different tools and how you change your hinge based on the tool that you're using for your workout. So on the basics, the feet placement, I want to get right underneath my hips. Why? Because the greatest expression of a hinge is going to be a jump eventually. And anytime I jump, I want my feet to be underneath where I need to lift the weight, and all the weight sitting on top of my hips. So I need to have my feet underneath my hips to launch that weight off the ground eventually. So I'm going to place my feet just hip width apart with my toes pointed forward. I want to point all my toes down and grab the ground, especially that big toe, and really try to force that big toe down to the ground. That's going to turn on my arch and really grab the ground just like you would be grabbing onto an object with your hands. Then I want to imagine that I have a piece of paper between my feet and I want to spread the floor. Whoa. That's going to put my ankles in a really stable position and not collapsing inward or having any valgus knees that you'll commonly see with a hinge position. So again, grabbing the ground with my toes and then spreading the floor. That's going to give a good stable position to my ankles. Now I want to think about turning on my glutes, which are going to support the driving movement forward towards the weight that I'm going to pick up. So I want to turn my knees to the outside, right? As I turn my knees to the outside, it sucks in that gut and it also turns your pelvis a little bit forward. Tailbone comes to your heels. So I want you to put a C cup or a C clamp, right, with your fingers onto your waistline. And then when you've put your feet down into the ground, I extend my knees to the outside. I'm going to tuck my hips underneath me. I feel my glutes turn on. But for my hinge, I want to go the opposite way. Go ahead and push your finger down and Instagram that butt as far back as you can. And I want to have a really tight low back, but still brace my core. Feels really awkward, but I should feel really stable in this position here. This is where I can start my hinge from. The last thing I need to do is Superman my chest. Right? So I have a really strong back where I link my shoulders, my low back, and my butt all together into that chain that goes down to the ground. So I should really feel really solid when I Superman my chest, I Instagram my butt, I turn my knees out, and I grab the ground with my feet. And now we push our hips back and keep our knees stable. I should feel my hamstrings right there, and I come back to the top. Everybody's going to feel their hamstrings in a different position. Depends on your flexibility in that hamstring currently. So I want to do first a sandbag because this is going to be a common thing or something very common for you to pick up in a hinge that would be in everyday life. That's why we use hinge and functional movement as a very basic foundational movement because we do this all the time. So my sandbag is right in front of my toes. It is kind of an awkward deadlift position to deadlift something in front of you, but we use barbells and things all the time. But this is going to be a little lower to the ground. So I want to set up, right? Get my Superman chest, Instagram butt, push that butt back, and now I try to reach. I'd have to break my spine to grab that, right? So now I want to think if I can keep this integrity of my spine, I can't reach. I'm just going to lower my hips just a little bit to keep that integrity to pick up my item all the way up to my hips. Always driving those glutes to the top. And then I want to set down with that same tension on my hamstrings. Now, imagine this is a dog food bag. Got it in between my feet. I got to do the same thing, right? Set up nice and tall. I get down to my hinge. This is all I can get. I got to go even lower now. So it's more looking like a squat than a hinge, but I'm still going to pick it up to my hips and do whatever I need with it. Like I said, sandbag's kind of a basic tool that you would be running into in daily life, but I want to translate this into your functional fitness workout. And so I've got my kettlebells here. I've got my big boy, my big foot, that I'm going to put right between my feet. This could simulate a barbell as well, but I want to go over how to really solidify your lats and your upper body to support your deadlift as well. So I put my feet on the outside, set my feet, knees, hips, and back, and I hinge down. Right? I got a good grip onto this handle, But now I want to set my lats really hard by turning my elbow pits forward like we did on the push-up and pulling my shoulders away from my ears, turning those lats on. Lift up and brace down. Similar movement, no matter what the tool, I want to have that same structure to my spine and my core to stay safe through a deadlift or a basic hinge. We're going to take this movement into all sorts of craziness, but start with this foundation. Let me know in the comments what you think about this setup or what problems you run into, and we can help you out. This has been Coach Fish, your hinge video. We'll see you next week.